In this lesson, we'll cover views. So what is a view? Well, in Revit, views are like cameras. For example, what you design in Revit is in 3D, a three-dimensional model. Think of it as let's say a cube or a house. And you want to look at the different sides of that cube or that house. Views, if you will. You could look at a right elevation, a left elevation, front or back. Or maybe you want to look at the top, which would be a roof view, or you want to look at each floor, be a floor plan view or reflected ceiling plane view. Or you take a slice through that view, kind of what you're looking at right now, where you have a section view, basically a slice through that model. Now in that view, you may only want to see certain elements. You could hide things. For example, looking at your screen and my screen, I don't see any architectural details or any mechanical HVAC elements, so those are hidden. Also, I don't see the full width of the building, so it's clipped. Same thing with the depth of the view. I don't see farther down in the view. I just see a specific distance or a depth. So where is all this controlled? Well, the majority of the controls are on the fly being set by the toolbar on the bottom. And that's where I'm moving my mouse right now. For example, this view has a scale. I can click on 1 to 100, and this is where I can override the view. I also have a detail. Detail lets me see how much detail of the elements within the view. For example, right now I see the conduit for my electrical wiring. If this were plumbing or tubing, you'd see the same thing. If you were to change this to coarse or median, you actually see that only displays as a singular line. Now, depending on what you're looking at, you may want to show detail and you may not want to show detail. Again, it all depends upon that view though. You also have the level of graphic display. In this case, wireframe, shaded, realistic. And again, depending on what you're looking at, you may want to show a shaded mode, you may want to show a wireframe mode. The next two icons have to do more with solar study, where you're looking at the sun path, and shadows from the sun. The next two after that are for cropping. A little earlier, I said this view is cropped, so you don't see everything to the right or the left. And I can turn on this crop box, and you could see this rectangular shape where elements are cropped outside of it. If you turn off the crop, the icon before that, you actually see everything that is at that section cut through the model. The other part of this is how deep you want to see within the crop. I'm going to turn the cropping back on, and I'll turn the crop region off, that rectangular shape. Now, another thing I mentioned was seeing elements and not seeing elements in this view or in this section. And that's where the glasses and the light bulb let you hide or temporarily hide elements you don't want to see in this view. The light bulb lets you see what's been hidden in this view, and you can turn it back on. Anything indicated in magenta or the red shows me a hidden element, i.e. the HVAC planned elements here, if you will. And I can hit the light bulb again to turn it off. Now, the glasses let you temporarily hide things. And you can see in this little menu that pops up, it says hide or isolate either a category or an element. An element may be the individual item you pick, let's say the panel box or the conduit. The category would mean every panel box or all the conduit. And hide and isolate, hide is hide, you don't see it. Isolate means you hide everything else but what you click. And then the reset would set it back to the default settings. So those are the settings for the most part you can control on the fly for this view. So the next question is, how do you create views and where are they located? Well, looking at the left side of your screen, and the lower left is the project browser. The top part of this shows you your views, and the views are sorted based on the default sort set that you're looking at. Right now, the sorting is being sorted in what's called simple or simple mode, where it's showing me discipline, and the views for, in this case, the mechanical MEP elements based on those disciplines, so those views. So I can see the section main element, electrical distribution view is the one I'm looking at right now. But you can change this. And to show that, if you right-click on Views Simple and then click Browser Organization, this is where you can change how you want your views sorted and what views you see. A lot of people work under Type and Discipline. So if you click Type and Discipline, click OK, I now see the views are sorted by their type. If I expand each one, let's say floor plans, well, now here's the floor plans, here's the electrical floor plans, and then here's the electrical floor plans for each level based on the lighting and the power, and then even sub-elements if there's different or multiple plans for each. And you can scroll through the list and see there's multiple ones, even the main element. Now, the view that I have on my screen right now is a section view. So it's going to be under sections. It's also an electrical section view, so it would be under electrical. And then there's my main electrical distribution view. So another question you may say, well, how do I know where the view is grouped, under which discipline or subdiscipline? Discipline in this case being section or electrical, and then a subdiscipline down. Well, as you click on a view, the property box above this project browser displays the information for that view. Very similar to what we were setting down here on the view bar on the bottom. For this view here, the main electrical distribution, I have the scale, there's the model display, the level of detail, the parts, visibility, and if you scroll down, you can see the discipline is electrical. So that's how it gets grouped under electrical. It even goes a step further. If you go down a little more, you have a subdiscipline, in this case, power. So I can actually group and change multiple views based on, let's say, their discipline or subdiscipline. Even if you scroll down, there's other settings for template, which I'll cover here in a minute, the crop, phasing, which is at the very end. And what phasing is if you're doing a lot of, let's say, demolition and reconstruction, you want to take that into a phased approach. Now, everything I've said thus far can be applied on the fly, or you can apply a template to a view. So how do you do that? How do you create a new view? Well, to do that, go to the View tab on the ribbon. To create a new view, it's in the middle, and there's a drop down for plan views, and you can create a new view, whatever you choose in this case, floor plan, etc. And then once you have the view created, click on the actual view name itself, and then over on the left, you can go to View Templates, and then apply a view template to the current view. The templates, to see what they look like, click Manage View Templates. And if you open this up, here are all the templates you can apply to a view. Best way to see these is by filtering them. So if I look at the major discipline electrical and then look at the sub-element for elevation, section, and detail, and then look at the electrical section, these are the default settings for that view that's open on your screen. And you can see they match based on what we saw below. Now you do have overrides, and you could override the current setting to make a new setting or create a new discipline, if you will, or a new template. Some other elements that you can override on the fly from the view toolbar on the ribbon. In the left area, you do have the graphics where you can turn on or off thin lines or thick lines. You can filter again based on discipline and then change these settings, or you can override the visibility graphics from what the template set. This is basically those model elements that you could turn on or off, or annotation elements that you could turn on or off within this view itself. Go ahead and click OK. You can also render, which we'll cover that toward the end of this lesson. And then you can also look at the overall graphic display options, and that's the little down arrow to the right. Again, a lot of this is what you set on the view options bar on the very bottom, that toolbar, but this is where you can set these globally. So shaded or shadows or lighting, or even applying a background, if you will. Go ahead and click OK. So in summary, what we looked at is what is a view? How are views grouped? Meaning in the project browser, how do I see them in a sorted manner? How do they get sorted in that manner? And that's by the view properties. How do we change those properties? And then how do we create the view from the View tab in the Create window? And then how do we apply a template so we don't have to keep changing and setting all of these criteria for each view for every time you create a view? And that's in the View Templates where we can apply and manage a template.